Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Monday Night Mic'd. Do we have a treat for you tonight? A full episode jam-packed, not only one guest, we also have a secondary guest coming up a little bit later. We advertised Bokondji Imama is joining us this evening. He is here and he is ready to go. After the interview tonight with Boko, we are going to have President and GM of the St. John Sea Dogs, Mr. Trevor Georgie, on to talk about some of the announcements the QMJHL made today, about the upcoming draft lottery dates, the upcoming draft dates, and things that are going to be going on this summer that all pertain to our upcoming season and some of the new faces you may see on the Sea Dogs. So stay tuned after our interview with Boko to hear that interview with Trevor Georgie. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show our second ever guest, number 51 from your St. John Sea Dogs, Boko Imama. Boko, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Now, Bogo, we were catching up a little bit there before we came live, but I maybe let the fans know how you're doing, where you're staying right now, where's home, and how are you staying safe?
Yeah, I'm back home here in Montreal with my family. So yeah, so we're pretty much I'm not doing much. I'm trying to work out a little bit, staying active, but I'm just laying low and enjoying the family.
Now, do you have a gym set up or something there, or is it like a garage, dumbbells, and
Yeah, no, I
bags of
have a little
sand you're lugging around?
no, I have a little thing set up here, so there's not much to do, but I have a couple of weights to throw around.
Nice, nice. I mean, your family members are glad they're weights and it's not them you're throwing around, I'm sure. Uh, Voko, I want to go back all the way to your rookie season. You joined a team in Boko that was pretty stacked. I mean, your first 2 years, you found yourself in the finals. But talk to me about coming into the league on a team that was kind of primed to go for it.
Yeah, I think it was good. Obviously, as a 16-year-old, there was a lot of veterans on the team, so I would have loved to have like a bigger role. But it just like kept me, it like kind of kept me humbled and like shaped me into the player I become in the league. So it was really exciting, especially going back by the finals back to back. So that was good too. A good experience. And yeah, it was Bacon was a good time.
Now, your role in the league was that of kind of an enforcer. Um, was that a choice coming into your rookie season? Like how do you kind of get assigned that role? Is that kind of you go out and show that, hey, this is the kind of player I want to be, or was that kind of, guys took
Well,
notice and said, hey, this guy can go. Maybe he should be our guy.
yeah, like well, believe it or not, like before being allowed to fight, like I was a skill guy. I was actually playing hockey, but I always played with a fire in me, and I was always physical my whole life. Uh, that's just how I was shaped. So I knew coming in the queue, I knew I was not going to be scared to fight someone, and I knew it would have happened because of the way I play. So I knew it was coming. So I just did it, and at some point, just the reputation is made, and people expect it. People will just expect that out of you.
Now, I remember hearing about Mike Thomas when he showed up to his first camp as a 16-year-old, and he was trying to go with guys who were 18, 19, 20. Do you have any stories like that you showed up to your first camp in Baie-Comeau and were
Oh
just ready to
yeah,
go, and guys were like, "Who is this guy?"
yeah. Yeah. When I was 16, and people thought I was like 19, 20. They didn't really realize that I was 16, and yeah, I was guys that I was fighting with, and getting in some brawls with. There were guys like way older than me, but on the ice, you don't even think about that. It's just something that is funny to look at after.
And you mentioned in your first 2 years going back-to-back finals. That first year, Baie-Comeau ran into a pretty stacked Halifax team that went on to win the Memorial Cup. Guys like Nathan McKinnon, Jonathan Drouin are on that team. Do you have any memories or moments about that kind of playoff run or that series specifically?
Yeah, well, you said it. Like they were, yeah, they were really stacked. It was, I was honestly at that time I didn't really have a big role on the team yet. So just looking at those guys playing and dominate the game like they were doing, it was something to watch. But at the same time, like it would have been nice to to win that and try
Yeah.
to.
And was there any thought? I mean, the guys talk about, when you come in, you're a 5-year player, you have maybe one or two shots in the cycle if you stay on one team throughout your 5-year career after coming in and then being in back-to-back President Cup finals and not getting the victory both times. Did you have any thoughts of like, okay, maybe that's it. In the next 3 years, I'm going to be, part of the rebuild? Or did you think, one day maybe I can get back here and finally win one?
Well, when I got to the finals the third time, well, my final year that I won with you guys, well, I knew we were not playing against Nathan McKinnon or Jonathan Drouin, or even Martin Frick was there too. So I knew I was not playing against those guys anymore, and we had all the big weapons. So I knew, not that I knew that we were going to win, but I think I had a good feeling about it all year.
Yeah, you had to feel that there was something special going into that run. Now, you talk about your time in St. John. I want to talk about right before your trade. You played in St. John with Baie-Comeau against the
Yeah.
Sea Dogs in a pretty eventful game, and you ended up fighting Justice Dundas. Do you remember that fight at
Oh,
all?
yeah. Yeah. Wow, that was a long time ago. But
That is
yeah,
a
I
long
do
time.
remember that. Yeah, Dundee, man, he's a great guy. Like now I think he's a good friend of mine. But
Nice.
yeah, I remember that time. He
I
was.
I do have a quick clip that I just want to show everyone. It's actually the fight from that game. This is November 2015, Baie-Comeau
Wow.
at St. John.
Power play will extend to the third period, barring further penalties, which are a distinct possibility in a 6-2 game like right now, because there's a fight. Imama and Dundas. And they had set this one up earlier. And they were willing to put each other on their respective camp cards.
Imama with his left hand free. Dundas' helmet is now off. This is a dangerous situation always.
We saw that earlier in the season when Dundas.
So great fight, first of all, and I remember that vividly because Dundas was kind of our guy at the time, and that was his first season with St. John, and he was kind of a gritty, tough guy who could also score, which is sort of a role that you ended up filling later on when you came into St. John. But I bring that up because you fight a guy like Dundas, and it seemed like there wasn't a lot of love lost between the two of you. But then flash forward a month and a half, 2 months later, you get traded to St. John, and he's now your teammate. Is there any animosity there? Is that a text message sent, before you show up and say, hey, bygones be bygones? How does that work?
No, like that's the nice thing about hockey is like one day you're ready to punch him in the face, and the other day you're ready to back him up. Like that's just how it works. And when we're fighting out there, I know it looks crazy when you look at the clip, but when we're fighting out there, it's never personal. It's never personal. And deep down, like like the other guy, he's a great guy. You know that if you were on his team, you guys would probably be friends and stuff. You still have respect for him. So yeah, it was pretty natural when I did the transition to St. Johnny to play with him.
It's
Great
fun.
teammates.
It's funny coming up with some more clips and stuff that we'll get to later on. A couple of your fights. The first guy to come in and pat you on the back and give you the stick tap when you're heading to the bench or to the box was Justice. So it was funny that we could go back and see that you guys had that fight just before you got to St. John. The other reason I
Yeah.
wanted to bring up your visit to St. John. This kind of goes down in legend that your first game in St. John, you decided to drive down from Baie-Comeau, but I understand it was a pretty eventful ride for you getting to St. John.
All right, like you want me to get into
Well,
details, or
I
you
mean,
like
as much detail as you want to share.
well, all right. So that was crazy. So what happened? So anyways, it was right after Christmas break. I had my parents got me a car for Christmas, right? So I was not traded yet. I was still with Big Homo. So that was my first car and stuff. So I got it over to Big Homo, and a couple of days later, boom, I get traded. So now I'm like, wow, okay. So I packing my car and like, road trip to all the way to St. John. But so yeah, so on my way there, I had a little crash. I actually went like off road, but that was the day before the game. I was supposed to play the next game. So the next day, sorry. So that happened. So I had a crash and all that. So I'd spend the night in Bermooski. So I was in Bermooski, and I'm in the phone with Daryl Young at the time, and we're trying to figure things out. And he's just like, okay, let's just we'll get your next flight the next morning. So I have like 10 bags with me at the airport. I have like 4 different cards that I'm pushing like one after the other. Finally, I get to St. John, and I'm like, okay, you know, now I can rest a little bit and have a good meal and just go to bed or something. But no, Daryl Young's like, yeah, like you're playing tonight. I'm like, I'm playing tonight. He's like, yeah, you're playing tonight. I'm like, all right, I'm playing tonight. And yeah, I remember, I think I got to the rink like 10 minutes before the game. The guys were all dressed up, and I just walked in the room. I had like my jeans on and like not even like business casual, just all over the place. I remember shaking everyone's hand, before getting dressed up. Then, I just put my stuff on and just got on the ice. Oh, I remember that day too. That was my first time meeting Matthew Joseph. He was not playing. He was injured.
Okay, yeah.
So I had to put it out there, but I made him take my stick before the game. Went out there and had 2 apples.
I remember you had a good game too. We were all very hyped that you just got traded to the team. I
Yeah,
remember that.
my lungs were not feeling good, but yeah, I got through it.
Yeah, good to get the first one under the belt. Now it's funny you bring up Matthew Joseph, and in my research here leading into tonight's episode, I learned that you weren't the biggest fan of Matthew coming into the Sea Dogs.
Well, we're not as boys as we ended up being. Like I was saying, like the first time I saw him, he was just like right now. There's no chance he will tape my steak for me. There's no chance he will do it but at the time we're not that close, so he kind of like did it to be a good guy, I would say. But yeah, but all the guys, yeah, when I got to St. John, the only guy I knew was Dover.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Dover was the only guy I knew, and the game that I played against you guys before when I was in Baie-Comeau, me and all the guys were just going at it all game. They just hated me. I hated them. So, but the only guy I knew it was Dover. So, it was just, at first, like, I didn't know, like, who was who and, like, which guys were the good guys. But at the end of it, we're all best friends.
Yeah, speaking of best friends going into that next full season with the Sea Dogs, you made kind of a long-term best friend when you jumped to the rescue of a young rookie by the name of Joe Valeno. Does Joe still send you a fruit basket every Christmas as a thank you for for helping him in that game?
Not even. I don't even know if he remembers. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that was pretty wild.
Now, for fans that don't know, and I do have a clip coming up, you had come off the bench. Kelly Ben from Halifax had tried to kind of go after Joe Valeno, and you came off the bench, and you got a pretty hefty suspension for that. Leading up to the return game, I mean, by the time you got back, it was 15 games had passed, plus it was another 8 or 9 games until we played Halifax again. During that time, is there communication between you and Kelly, either through like a third party or, hey, you're going to have to answer the bell, like getting into kind of the ethos of the fight game in hockey? How does that work? Is it just kind of a known fact that, hey, next game, you're going to have to pay for this, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Like for me, like I was not even thinking about it more about it. I knew I was out for 15 games, and I knew the next time I would have seen him is like 2 months later. So I was not really trying to worry about that. I think it was more like my friends and, just guys messaging me about it and like try to, people were trying to hype it up for sure. But me personally, it was just no different. Obviously before that game, that morning when I woke up, like obviously I knew that we're going to fight.
Yeah.
So that was just like the day off. But other than that, like I just didn't really worry about that.
Now, and you kind of alluded to this before with justice, that it's never a personal thing, and it's kind of forgot about after the fact. But it seemed
Yeah,
even after the fight that it was kind of okay, that's it, and it's done with. And I think we played Halifax another time or two before the end of the season. But is that pretty typical for any fight? And even now in the AHL, it's kind of it's one and done, and then you move on.
yeah, for sure. Like even like obviously the situation with Kelly Bank, like it made a lot of noise. It got a little bit of media attention. Like, there was a big clip. Always, so obviously it shows like a lot of animosity. But me personally, I did what I had to do for 20, 30 seconds, and then I'm like, all right, like I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make it like a big story or something.
yeah,
I just do what I have to do.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Now I do have the clip here for anyone watching of the Kelly Bent fight. This is from Harbor Station at the time, now TD Station.
Hey,
This is the
edit that
return
one.
of Halifax to St. John.
Waits behind the net. Now it's up ice. And the gloves are off. It's Imama, Imama and Dent here at center ice. And here it goes. Dent lands the first one. Imama answers back. Dent going over. Imama tries to fire over the top. Firing away. Dent is in the net here. Dent coming back with a couple. Now Imama again. Tries to enter. This time.
The emphatic toss down of the gloves and the emphatic toss of the mouthpiece at the end are the two moments that stick out for me in that one. That was also a video. That was my first year working full time with the team, and I was tasked with making a viral video. And so I took that video and I overlaid Kelly Bent with Pikachu from Pokemon, and I named it Bokomon, and it's just you beating up Pikachu from Pokemon for 10 seconds. And it ended up being like our most popular video of the last 3 or 4 years at least. So I'll always have that in my hat. So thank you for that, Boko.
I remember that. Well, you did a good job.
Oh, thank you. That took far too much time, I'll tell you that. Moving into your 2016-17 year, the Cup year, it's a pretty special team, and you talked about only knowing Dover when you got to St. John, and then kind of you knew Justice, but he wasn't around once we got into 2016-17, and you kind of become friends with Matthew Joseph over the years. But can you talk about some of the teammates from that year and how special that group was?
Oh yeah, everyone, like everyone. I just remember I had a great relationship with everyone on the team, but obviously there were guys that they were more like, we're a little bit more close. Like, obviously Shabby, like being like one of my best friends, Dover being one of my best friends. So there was a lot of guys that I really got along with, but it's yeah, I think just everyone got along perfectly, and everyone was best friends. So it was yeah, it was a great group of guys. Like I know we'll be tight. We'll be tight for a long time.
And you mentioned Shabbat. He was on the show last week, and when we brought up your kind of hobby / side career as a barber, you were a well-known barber on the team. It was kind of a story that went around throughout the year. It was called getting a 5-1 fade. 5-1, of course, being your jersey number. Are you still in the barber game?
Not really. Like now, I will just take care of my own.
Yeah.
Especially right now. But right now, if 5-1 fade was still on, the business would have been booming. Actually, not really.
Not really. Yeah, you'd have all the skills, but not be able to get close to anyone. Well, that actually brings me to our first fan question. Ryan Kennedy says, "Very cool series. Can you get Boko to give tips on at-home haircuts?" So, do you have any tips for anyone in quarantine right now with a full head of hair looking to trim it down?
Honestly, I don't know what style of hair my boy is doing. Like mine is different. I go with the skin fit at all time.
Yeah.
But what I will tell him is to have more than one mirror to work with.
More than
You
one
gotta
mirror.
get you gotta get those angles right.
I was joking with my wife earlier today that it might get to the point where I have to ask her to cut it. So I'm both nervous and excited.
Oh, Good
Uh,
luck.
Going back to that 2016 17 season, you had 30 goals in the Q through your first 4 seasons, and then you really popped off in that fifth year in St. John. 41 goals, led the team in your 20-year-old year. What was so different for you that year?
Uh, I just, I just felt like I had to do something different that year. Like, years after years, I was just known as that tough guy. And at some point, I couldn't even be that tough guy anymore because that's what people expected that from me. And as soon as I did something, I was just getting, thrown out or something. So I just used it as my advantage, and I just started to focus a little bit more about, the offensive side of the game, try to bring more to my game. I knew I was pretty tough, and everybody knew it. So, I just try to focus on, something more. And also, I know I always knew I could have do it too. But obviously, being a tough guy and playing that role, it comes in the way too. But yeah, I just did what I have to do, and you know, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, it's harder to be that tough guy when you've had that reputation and you're in your 20-year-old season and you're on a pretty skilled team. I mean, it doesn't call for us to fight too often when we're up by 2 or 3 goals, and I can't imagine there was too many people in your last year in the league who were looking to fight Boko Imama in any given night.
Exactly. Anyways, yeah. So
And I looking back too on so many of the clips that I went through in preparation for the show tonight. It's you basically left alone in the slot because no one wants to get close to you on the off chance that you're gonna put them down, and then you just let go an absolute rocket of a shot. And every time it's top
oh
corner
nah,
or just blowing by the goalie.
nah. I had some great line mates too. Obviously, my teammates were making some great plays, and it just all worked out together. So yeah.
It all works out. I want to move on to your AHL career. You're playing now with the Ontario Reign. Was
Yeah.
there at any point when you thought when you found out you were going there that Ontario was in Canada? Was there like a because I remember the first time I heard about an event going on in Ontario, I was like, oh, okay, cool, but it's in fact in
No, well,
California.
honestly, I didn't heard of Ontario, California until I signed with LA. The only Ontario I knew was Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
So when they told me, it was pretty clear in my head already. But but yeah, but it's a good program. So we play in Ontario, but we actually live in LA.
Oh, nice.
So that's pretty special on game days. So we're playing like every game is a road game pretty much. So
And I know I talked to a few people, billet parents, etc., that kind of kept in touch with you over the years, and they say that you're really enjoying your California lifestyle and the weather and everything else there. How is the great state of California?
oh, it's nice. It's great. I love it. It's like yeah, it's the best. Obviously we know we're pretty lucky to be playing in California and
Mhm.
stuff, but yeah, it's a nice spot.
Now, jumping from the Q to the AHL, that brings us to our next audience question. Liam Allen 24 on Instagram. He asked, "How is the Q different than the AHL?"
Uh, it's just two different games. The Q, it's obviously it's a junior league. It's not a professional league. When you go to the AHL, it's just a different game. Uh, it's like a job now. So it's just two different things. Yeah.
And did you have that sort of moment in your first couple of games in the AHL that was like that welcome to the league moment that people talk about, whether it was, a hit, a fight, a single shift or a game that kind of sticks out in your mind as, okay, now this is definitely different.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was saying, it's a different game. Uh, you know, like no one's gonna wait after you. Like every game you need to be on point. It's like you're getting paid to do it, and obviously the speed of the game, it's different. I'll say guys are older, stronger. Like I was not the biggest guy anymore. You know, in saying what I was in junior, I was the biggest guy and I knew it. But now in pros now, there's a lot of them. So just a different competition.
And did your reputation at all kind of carry over into your first year or two in the A?
For sure. So coming in and I'm playing out west, pretty tough division where my division. So guys, they know who's coming in. They know who's they know everything. So yeah, there were some guys ready to challenge me my first year for sure.
Was there also a little bit of confusion when they looked at the stat sheet and were like, "Wait a minute, he also had 41 goals in his last season of junior."
Yeah, they were even on the ice. They were talking to me about it. They were like, "What happened?"
Skill guy.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all that skill and those 41 goals, I do have some highlights I wanted to play. There's a couple fights in there as well. But before we do that, I just have the last audience question. Caleb Dwyer, 2006 on Instagram. He wanted to know, what was your favorite hockey team growing up?
Montreal Canadiens for sure. For sure, hometown team.
That is the correct answer. Montreal is the correct answer. So without further ado, here's a couple of Boko Imama highlights.
With a chance to clear. He's crunched by Dundas as he got it out. Now we've got a scrap started here with Masters and Imama. Masters with several left hands to Imama's helmet. Imama a little off balance, throws a haymaker left and knocks Masters down. Now he's back to his feet. Imama switches to the right, goes back to the left for an uppercut. Imama throwing both left and right hands, throws the left jab. Now he pops Masters' helmet off with a hard right, goes back to the left for a couple of uppercuts. That has Masters staggering. Linesman standing close by, and now they'll get in on that. Kyle Ward again playing defense today. Rips it behind the goal. Highmore centering, scores! Who else but Boko Imama, second of the game? Here. And are we going to have one? Yes, we are. Oliver Cooper and Boko Imama inside the Sea Dog zone. A little shadow boxing here. Now they grapple. Cooper trying to get a right hand free. Imama throwing the left jab. Now up comes the helmet of Cooper. Oh, a couple of swinging uppercuts from Imama while Cooper's on his knees. And down goes Cooper. And Imama gives a little pass. He's going to get a pass from Zaboral here. Smallman left circled in front. Imama shoots! Scores! Boko Imama! And he waves on the Teddy Bears for Teddy Bear toss here at Harbor. Continues the cycle behind the net for Reginato. Centering pass, Imama scores! Boko Imama, second goal of the game.
Couple good memories in there, I'm sure. I forgot about the teddy bear goal. That was a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, my sister, she's right in front of me. She's watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was laughing at me about it.
Yeah, you had a big contingent from your family there on the President Cup. I mean, being from Montreal, I'm guessing they could all make the short trip to Blainville. But I remember you had there all the Boko Imama shirts on, and you had probably 6, 7, 8 people on the ice.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. Either I win it at home in front of the fans, or I win it in my hometown. I was happy either way.
I remember when we were talking with Shabbat last week about, everyone thinks you go to a big party afterwards, but really we were just stuck on a plane for, 3 or 4 hours on the tarmac. But I remember you in the back, like, I know a bunch of people in Montreal. We could just stay here, guys. We could just stay here. We're like, no, we're not doing that. We cannot do that.
I was so ready. Like, if we're stuck, like.
Yeah, I was at the front, like, let's listen to Boko. Let's just stay for a minute. Boko, if you're ready, we'd like to get into the lightning round. This is 10 questions. We're looking for speed and honesty with these questions.
Wow.
If you do need to skip any of these questions, not get anyone in trouble, I understand. A pass is accepted, but I'd like it if you could answer them honestly as possible. And after the lightning round, the interview will conclude, but we do have a pre-recorded interview I did just before the show started with President and GM of the Sea Dogs, Trevor Georgie, just talking about some of the announcements today made by the QMJHL about the draft lottery, trade period, and the draft coming up later on in June. So stick around after this interview with Boko for that video as well. So if you're ready, Boko, we will start the lightning round. Number 1, it's a softball. It's an easy one. Your favorite goal you ever scored?
Oh, you said speed. Sorry. That's not fast enough. I will say Game 6 in Chicoutimi, third round of playoffs.
That's the correct answer. That's the one I was thinking of. Number 2, did you ever intentionally screw up someone's haircut?
Nah.
The tips would dry up pretty fast if word got out that you were intentionally screwing someone over. Number 3, other than me, who's the most famous person you've ever met?
I ever met the most famous? Wow. I'll go with Drake.
Drake, oof.
Yeah.
Number 4, if you could fight anyone from the 2016-17 President Cup team, who would it be?
If there's one guy I can just fight.
Yep.
Oh, Nathan Noel.
Nathan Noel. Okay.
Yeah. Heartbeat.
We'll leave it at that. Number 5, you're a California guy now. Shake Shack or In-N-Out?
Shake Shack.
Shake Shack. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the waffle fries? Is that what does it?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. The whole kit and caboodle. Okay. Number 6, would you rather never score again or have to wear a cage the rest of your career?
Come on, wear a cage.
Wear a cage? Okay. I was trying to think of a cage or if like the bubble was worse to wear.
Nah, come on. You want to score at least a couple times.
That's true. Cage or not. Number 7, the best excuse you've ever heard or given to not fight someone. Whether it was like leading up to a game, before a game, during a game, someone gave you an excuse, whether it was a joke or not, or you gave them an excuse of why you couldn't fight. What's the best one?
So, you know what? I can't give you the worst one because if the guy ever, no, I don't think he will listen to that. But yeah, I just had a guy. Me, I hate when guys are telling me that, they don't want to fight me because I'm too big or something. This is the worst thing you can tell someone on the ice. So that was it for sure.
Just you're too big. That's got to give you some confidence if it does come to blows.
Like you can't do that.
All right, this one's probably the most loaded question of the entire round here. One meal your billet mom made that you didn't like at all.
I'm not going to do that to my lovely billet mom.
If I was a betting man, that was the one I had picked that you would pass on.
She is the best, and I will give her a shout out to Stephanie,
nice,
Luke, and Allie. They were great.
I'm sure they're watching in the chat. Okay, number 9, sticking on the food train, your favorite restaurant or bar in St. John? Now, you did play here as a 20-year-old, so I did include bars. They also serve food, not just alcohol. So.
Exactly. Actually, what was the name of it? It was a steak bar, I think, on the, what was the name again?
Which one? On the boardwalk?
What?
On the boardwalk?
Yeah, on the boardwalk.
The Ale House? Or are you talking about like the nightclub?
No, not the night. Well, there too, but but the steakhouse restaurant. I think that's the one you.
The Ale House. The Ale House.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you picked a sponsor, so that's perfect. Double points on that one.
Oh, for sure.
And number 10, the final one, the biggest blooper you've ever had on the ice, whether it's you got on with a skate guard, you fell over or something like that. What's the biggest blooper you can remember in your career?
I think I had a pretty good one this year. I was just trying to get on the forecheck one game, but it was just so funny because the way the play was shaped up, and I was like kind of like alone going the other direction, and I just like literally faceplanted and just ran into the goalie, took the net off. It was just like a scene for unnecessary scene.
If anyone has a clip of that or access to the clip, please tag at SJC Dogs so we can make sure that our great fans get to visit that. You got to take the bad with the good. We're showing good clips and fights and stuff. We gotta show the other side too. That was the lightning round. Let's score it up here. I'd give you at least 8 points. 8 out of 10. You beat Shabbat. He had 7. Of course.
Yeah.
Easy. Hard marking, so you can rub that into to Shabbat next time you see him. Boko, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm so glad to hear that you're doing well, you're staying safe, and you're extending your great career down in California. Do you have any last messages, thank yous, anything like that, or where we can follow you on social media, anything you have going on? The time is yours, the floor is yours. Let people know what they need to hear.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you to you guys, to connect with me again. It's great to talk to all you guys. I was in touch with Trevor too, so thanks to Trevor, and I wish I hope everyone is staying safe, and we're going to get through those times, and yeah.
Perfect. And also, I forgot to congratulate you. You made the list for the all 15-year team for 15th anniversary. Fans voted, and you were selected as one of the players for our all 15-year team. So congratulations on that. You're in high regard amongst our fans and our staff, and you got some pretty killer teammates on that 15-year team. So congratulations
Oh,
to that, and congratulations on your career, and best of luck in the upcoming season in Ontario.
all right.
Thank you, Boko, and stay tuned, guys. We have an interview right now coming up with President and GM of your St. John Sea Dogs, Mr. Trevor Georgie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now onto the show. We would like to welcome Sea Dogs President and General Manager Trevor Georgie. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you holding up there? You're still here in St. John?
Yeah, still here at home in St. John. Deb and I are just here, hunkered down. It's quiet around town. We live uptown. It's pretty quiet out there, but everything's great.
New Brunswick seems like a good place to be these days. Glad to have you here at home. Just wanted to get some updates on, I know the QMJHL released some information today about upcoming dates and times and things that are going to going on through the summer. Just wanted to get your insight on a few things and get your opinion on plans through the summer. First thing that's coming up is the draft lottery. Obviously, we've had some luck with the draft lottery over the last few seasons, including last year getting first overall with slim chances going into it. Talk to us about what the plan is, when the date is, our chances, things like that.
Yeah, we were pretty lucky last year. I don't think we were very popular at the TVA sports offices when we won the lottery, but that's okay. Yeah, so this year we have a fourth overall pick, which is a lottery pick from Boko. We got that last season in a trade with Boko for Alex Dorio. So it's sitting at 4. The draft lottery initially planned for a few weeks back is now going to be May 6th. I know the league's looking at a couple of different scenarios of how they hold it, where they hold it, given kind of different government regulations, as you'd appreciate. But May 6th is when it's going to take place, and we'll know if we're lucky again in a couple of weeks.
Now, do you have any plans? I mean, we could be anywhere from 5th to 1st, fingers crossed. Does that hugely sway who you're looking at and kind of our options?
Our plan is to win the lottery and then get overall. That's the plan. Yeah, I mean, of the top 5, getting to pick in that, given where we are in our cycle and getting a top 5 pick is we're really fortunate to have that. It gives us another real quality piece to our puzzle here that we're building in St. John. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a really interesting draft from a perspective that a lot of key tournaments and key games have never got to be played. So I think, thankfully our scouting staff and our head scout, Anthony, has been, at every rink and every tournament and doing our research. But I think there'll be, especially in some of the later picks, I think you'll see a lot of differing opinions just because of the lack of viewings with some of these players.
Now, I know you always hear going into a draft, it's a strong draft. It's, top heavy. It's all about defensemen this year. There's some good goalies, whatever it is going into any given year. What's kind of the word on the streets, internally or kind of around the league about this year's drafts?
Yeah, I mean, word on the streets is, a lot of quality blue liners, which is probably different from past seasons. But yeah, a lot of quality defensemen, and in a league that I think a lot of teams, and I know it because of the phone calls we get for our guys, in a league where everyone is looking for blue line help, I think it'll be a good draft for teams looking for that.
So that's the draft lottery. Going into the actual main draft, you had mentioned that there's a plan to hold it over 2 days with the first round, and then subsequently the 2nd through 14th rounds after that. What's kind of the generalized strategy plan? Obviously, if the lottery pick ends up being a a number one overall, that vastly changes your options, and you kind of get whoever you want with that first pick. But is there kind of general strategy going into the draft this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think our general strategy. I mean, first off, we're doing all our preparation now. We've been doing it all year. Even given being in quarantine and social distancing, we just did another Skype or Zoom interview earlier today with a player. So we're spending a lot of time getting to know the players and check on their character. But overall, it's going to be a player that we think can help us and that wants to be a part of a championship team. As early as next season, but over the next 3 years. So we're looking for players that have that, really tapping into the character piece and players that want to be a part of it. One question that Anthony had brought up that I think is great is, do you rather play first line on a last place team for the next 3 years, or would you rather be fourth line or third line on winning championships? And we want the guys that are willing to make certain sacrifices to be part of what we're building here. And that's our approach. And whether we win the lottery or not, whether we pick where we pick, we move up, we move back. We have 2 picks in the first round, currently 1 in the second, and it gives us a lot of flexibility.
Now, hand in hand with the draft weekend is the opening of the first trade period since the Christmas trade period. What have you been hearing? Obviously, a lot of GMs are kind of have a little bit more free time, and they might be going crazy, and they can't be in a rink somewhere watching an up-and-coming player. Is there? Do you find there's more chatter going around the league this year?
I might be one of those. I'm on my phone all the time. I've had a few GMs comment. They're like, "Boy, you're really early this year. You're usually early, but you're especially early this year." Look, we want to try to improve our team, and I think every GM's in the same boat. I think it's interesting. You're seeing a real shift around the league. Like last season in our conference, you had 4 of the top teams, 4 of the top 5 teams, and now you're seeing some of those teams start to enter the rebuild themselves. So you're seeing a bit of a pendulum swing in terms of who are the contenders and who are the ones now entering the rebuild. So I think that creates a lot of interest. I can say for us, I mean, I know that. So one other update: the trade period will open up on June 3rd to be able to start announcing trades. But our fans can look forward to currently 2 new additions to the Sea Dogs lineup. I can't disclose who they are yet, but we have 2 new additions to the Sea Dogs lineup that we'll be able to announce closer to the draft time.
You heard it here first. Now, that's the kind of main Q draft. There's also the U.S. draft that'll be happening this summer.
Yeah, so the Q draft is going to be the Friday night first round, and that's June 5th. Start likely around 6:30 and be broadcast online through the league channel. So it'll be great for our fans to be able to tune in, and especially a bit content starved right now. And then the rest, rounds 2 to 14, will be done on the Saturday morning. So there'll be some Saturday morning entertainment from I think 9 a.m. I think it'll be 8 a.m. our time on the Saturday, and then the U.S. draft will be the Monday. So it'll be 3 or 4 days in early June that our fans will have something more to talk about Sea Dogs and junior hockey.
That's a busy weekend. Fantastic. Now, with the end of the draft and the trade periods, that sort of marks the start of the upcoming season. Can you give any insight into kind of timelines or what the league or teams are looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the league's looking at a number of different options for that. We're planning to start the season on time and with our regular training camp and as normal as possible. We should have a tentative schedule here in the next few weeks from the league. That being said, I highly doubt that we're going to be actually starting it on time. And what it looks like, it's going to be a new normal around, not just around hockey, but around the world. So to sit here and start to say for sure it's going to be this date and it's going to be long of a season. So I think the season, I look forward to playing games in 2020-21 for our season. When that season starts, I'd be lying to you if I said I knew. And how many games we play in that season, I'd also be lying to you if I said I knew. So yeah.
Still very early, so I mean, we all want to be hopeful and say we're all going to start on time, but like you said, we don't know, so we just got to wait and be hopeful. Is there anything else you want to update our fans on, or anything that's going around the league that you want to make sure people know?
No, I just think I just think it's important for our fans at this time. And hockey is really important. Obviously, it's our livelihood. It's something that we all love and are really passionate about. But there's so much more going on around in our world that's concerning. And I just want to leave our fans with I hope that they're safe. I hope that they're well, and also want to acknowledge everything that's gone on in our neighbors in Nova Scotia the last 48 hours of great concern. So it's a challenging time right now in the world, and in North America, and hockey is just a small part of it. And just hope everyone's well and safe, and look forward to seeing everyone back at TD Station soon.
Very well said, and thank you for your time and your insight on the upcoming dates. People will be looking forward to that, and we hope you have the lucky hand once again in the draft lottery. I'd assume the league will have some sort of rule change if you happen to win it back-to-back years with such small odds. So we call the Trevor Georgie ping pong ball rule or something that'll come into effect for the 2020-21 season. But let's hope it doesn't come to that, even though we do hope to win.
When we do the video for the draft lottery, I'll have lots of Lucky Charms around me in the background, off screen.
People will be traveling just to, hug you or get a handshake, have some of the luck.
We can hope so.
Well, thank you so much. We could all use a little luck. Thank you so much, Trevor, and thank you to our guest earlier, Bokondji Imama, joining us as well on the show, guys. Next week, we do have a packed show. Jonathan Huberdeau, current NHL star and former Sea Dog, will be here with us next week, so we can't wait for that. Same time, Monday, 7:30 Atlantic. Thank you again, Trevor, and we will see everyone next week.